Okay. Doop. Trying to get this thing to work. I don't know if I quite got enough light on me really, but it is what it is. Okay. I need to do something with this chat thing, it always goes funny. Okay, so welcome to Livestream. Trying to get a bit more light on me. Thought I'd just do one from my sofa in Brighton, here in the UK. We're not completely on like official lockdown, but they've just closed all the pubs, cafes and gyms, which are the things I kind of enjoy doing when I'm relaxing. So, and that's for at least a month, and then they're going to review it. So, yep, it's kind of happening. It's kind of happening. Still a lot of people on the street and wandering about, and the shops are open and stuff. Or quite a lot of the shops are open. Less of the big chains, but more of the kind of smaller ones. And the cafes are allowed to do takeouts, as are the pubs for food, I think, but they're not allowed. You're not allowed to sit indoors. And I don't know. I mean, I kind of had the hump with it a bit for a while and stuff, but then I'm signed up to like the UK government's little thing of telling you what's going on, and they just published a load of kind of their scientific findings and their scientific committee, and I used to work in science a bit, just for a few years when I left school in a government laboratory, not in the kind of chief cleaning things and assisting kind of capacity when I was 18, but I did learn a bit of scientific method and stuff, and so it's kind of interesting to do that and see, there is actually some method in what they're doing, and it's not really about what the media are saying, and it's basically just on the chance that the virus is really dangerous. It's not that there's tons of evidence that it's super dangerous, it's just that this is kind of what they're going to be doing from now on. Everyone's going to get used to these kind of lockdown things, and their scientists seem to be still waiting to get enough data to make accurate decisions and just taking precautions till then. It's just that it's a bit extreme. That's how it is. Anyway, I'm kind of here in Brighton. I'm still working a bit of the centre in Dorset as well. I don't know how long I'll be able to do that, but I'm planning also to do, maybe starting on Monday afternoon, like a 21-day kind of a bioenergetics, just to put one live stream of actual bioenergetic workout for 20 minutes each day around 5 p.m. UK time, just for people who want something to, I know there's a lot of yoga stuff coming up and meditations and things you can do online, but hey, I thought put some bioenergetics on for bioenergetics fans, people who are kind of trapped in their apartment and can't really get out so much and stuff like that. I thought it would be a nice thing to do. So I'm planning to start that hopefully on Monday at 5 p.m. UK time, and just do it for 21 days. Also good for me, really. I'm always moving my energy in the morning, and often in the late afternoon I go down to the gym, but now the gyms are all closed. I have to do something else. So be nice to do a little live stream of some bow and arch and some different postures, and just give people a chance to experience doing 21 days in a row if they want to try it. So that's kind of that's exciting, and it also keeps me busy. One of the places where I work a lot, Sholila, the therapists there are finding people to treat. It's like, you just carry on doing your usual thing. It's kind of it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool. So I'm not in a mad panic. I don't know if maybe I've had coronavirus. Who knows? And I certainly wouldn't be particularly bothered if I did have it, because it doesn't seem to affect people with a healthy immune system very much. But I do kind of now see like the government has got a bit of method to what it's doing, and that for my kind of psyche or personality makes me feel a bit reassured that someone knows what the fuck's going on. It's not totally random, and we're not just being kind of locked up or herded around like cattle. So if you're watching and you've got a question or anything you want to share or say, just feel free to go for it. I'm excited right now. I've still got about 35 people, something like that, on the Bioenergetics for Journey, the online course. And now that this whole kind of coronavirus thing has kicked off, I'm kind of doing weekly sharings with that for people, or just Zoom meetings, you know, where everyone can just talk for a bit about how they're doing. And I find that supportive, you know, it's supportive. A lot of people say to me, wow, it's really supportive. So I might start doing these kind of Zoom meetings and Zoom sharings for people, just to check in with other people, because a lot of people are kind of sitting alone at their flat for a lot of the day, if not the whole fucking day. And you know, it's a bit of a fucking drag, especially if you're kind of being on a journey of self-development. You no longer have people around so much. I mean, at least being able to connect up with like-minded souls online and just listen to what they're going through and speak about what you're going through is quite supportive for people, I think. Okay, what's going on? Touch that. But yeah, I'm still working away at my book. I'm just about to get that proofread by someone else. So all the text is done, the pictures are nearly done. I need to finish doing the last little bit of that, and then the illustrator Victor is going to just finish those off. So I'm still optimistic that by I had it at the end of March, but certainly into April I'm going to have hard copy of that thing and start to put it out a bit. And I'm quite excited. There's not so many books about bioenergetics that really focus on the postures, and not so much from a kind of more, hey, let's really get in there kind of angle. You know, traditionally, bioenergetics came more from a kind of psychotherapeutic, you know, more orientated at a 40 or 50-year-old who wants to introspect on their childhood and understand stuff and move their energy a bit, you know, and not so much of a kind of younger, a little bit more yang energy. Not that I'm particularly young, but, you know, it's more of the way I've kind of got used to working, and it's not the only way to work by any means, but it suits me. So generally, I'm pretty happy with stuff in the bioenergetics, and I'm just a little bit shocked by this whole level of change that's gone on so quick. I was running Project Man last weekend, and a few guys who were looking to fly in from Europe, you know, had to cancel really because they were worried that you know, they wouldn't be able to get back. Basically, that their countries would close the border to the UK, because the UK at the time was taking a bit of a different position from the rest of Europe. Which is kind of changing a little bit now, but you know, that was valid, so I just refunded them their money. But we still had a good group, even with just a handful of people. It was a great weekend of just really getting into it, and created a lot of change for people. So I don't know, I'm kind of lucky in a way that I started to do stuff online with YouTube a few years ago, and to work a little bit one-to-one, and to also, you know, try to do some group sessions and online training since last December. But I've got a bit of an income stream from online work, you know, because centres that I work out of are all struggling, because I'm looking not feeling good about it, because they're reliant on having groups and clients and yoga trainings and Pilates and whatever going on in their things, and no one is coming together and everyone's scared. So it makes it really not easy. So a few of the places that I work out of are freaking out quite a lot at the moment, and I understand why. They're under serious threat of continuing, basically. Looks like someone's giving me a bit of chat. How do I get this chat up? It's always funny on the phone. This stupid thing comes up from there. Hey Jabra, hey man. Yeah, I'm doing good, basically, you know. I'm doing good. I mean, it was been a bit shocking, this whole thing and everything. I guess up in Scotland it's pretty much the same, but I'm not so bothered about it. I do my cold showers, I do my bioenergetics every day, and you know, scientifically, you know, it's like your immune system tends to go down when you get older, but that isn't because your body's getting old, it's because you're getting sedentary, basically, as far as I can gather from reading a bit of scientific stuff. And you know, if you keep your energy active and moving, you know, you can expect to have a totally functioning immune system at the age of 80 or 90. You know, if you keep active, you could have the same immune system pretty much as a 30-year-old, from what I've read. I don't know, I'm not an immunologist, but I'm feeling basically good. I'm not worried personally about this whole COVID thing. I don't think it's really that dangerous, is my feeling. But you know, at the same time, I do recognise that the government needs to take some action, even if it feels a bit extreme. It's got to try and isolate people and stop the virus from spreading. And you know, the British government's been preparing for this stuff for about the last decade, and I guess they're just kind of having a trial run this year. It'll probably be an annual bloody occurrence, I should think. But I'm basically doing good. I'm basically doing good. And yeah, I mean, it's just finding new options. I guess it's only yesterday that the pubs and the cafes all shut in Brighton where I am, and now they've been ordered to all close kind of in the UK and just do takeout. What about yourself, man? What's it like up there in Scotland? The Scots can't be too happy about not going down to the pub, or am I falling into some racial stereotype there? But worries for the vulnerable, all the businesses, and yeah, that's it. I mean, the vulnerable, it's not good. It's not good, but then every year I think 15,000-20,000 British people die of the flu. It's just yeah, it's brutal and not good. And my dad is always super paranoid about anyone who coughs anywhere near him. So, and I always used to kind of think, oh God, it's a bit mad, but I understand his reasoning now. I understand his reasoning. People are being pretty sensible. That's good, really. It's good. A friend of mine today was telling me how he'd been shamed by someone for talking to someone in the pub the other night, and someone had kind of given him a big lecture about it, and how irresponsible it was and stuff to be sitting close to someone and things, which I find a bit extreme personally. But I haven't had any dramas really. I haven't had any dramas. I was going for a pint with friends until the great ban occurred yesterday, and just hanging out with people as much as usual. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's just all starting, really, isn't it? It's just all starting, and we'll see in a few weeks' time. And working a bit in psychology and Maslow's hierarchy of needs, I don't expect to be too busy as a therapist for the next few months, I guess, because people are just busy with survival and getting their heads around the whole thing, essentially. I'm planning to do like a series of 21 days of like a 20-minute bioenergetic session in the afternoon, just for anyone who wants to give that a crack and move their energy a bit. That'll keep me a bit busy and finishing my book and online course and stuff. Some friends in Italy sounds pretty awful. Yeah, I've got friends in Italy. It does sound like a mess. I don't know. You don't really know. Who really knows, I mean, what I understand is scientists haven't really had much chance to really evaluate the situation, having worked a little bit in science when I left school, in a government laboratory for a few years before I dropped out and became a hippie and a punk. But what I remember of science and kept an interest in it since then, they haven't really had a chance to evaluate it. So they have to think on their feet and take a lot of drastic action to contain based around, the fact there isn't very much evidence out there yet. It'll take a while to get the evidence and to see how is the pandemic moving and blah, blah, blah. That's the thing. It's all kind of, and until they've got their heads around it, they just have to kind of, try and lock people down a bit so that they can't spread, really. And even that doesn't really work with these kind of viruses. It just slows it down a little bit. If you shut the schools, then you slow it down a couple of weeks. If you ban 99.9% of air travel, then you shut it down. Then you switch it off for about 3 or 4 weeks. That's all. It doesn't stop it. It just it anyway. It's very, very virulent, but it does flatten it out a bit, and that's what they're trying to do. Yes, please, for 21 days. Oh, that's cool. Hi, Kate. Yeah. No, I think let's do the 21 days, and that'll be interesting for me just to do it in the afternoon and just see who tunes in. And it's nice to offer something. I think it's nice to offer something for people and to support them a bit where you can. And also, I receive support by doing it as well. What else have we got here? There's a lot of unknowns. Yeah, there's a ton of unknowns, and everyone's, I've been in the therapy game quite a long time, and I know a lot of other therapists and stuff, and some of them are freaking out like fuck, and I'm a bit like, there's a part of me that's a bit like, am I, or, yeah, my rational mind's quite strong, but I also do clear a bit of stuff out, and I don't know, I just look at it and it doesn't really make me want to panic, and there's hundreds of, if not thousands of people panicking around the place, and the media are just fueling people into a huge panic. But I don't really see anything to panic about actually that much, you know. Of course, if 10 people are next to me starting to panic, then I can kind of feel the vibration coming into me. Yeah, fucking hell, I need to freak out now and panic. But then I think, well, there isn't really anything to panic about. And I just feel my body, feel my belly and come back a bit more. And then I can take more realistic things. Hey, Adriana, I take realistic actions and measures, you know. Yeah, I'm Italian. Panic here is everywhere. Also, thanks to all the advice you give. No worries, man. No worries. I hope you're doing okay. I mean, I guess, yeah, like the whole of Italy, I mean, the whole of Europe's in some high state of anxiety now anyway, isn't it, you know? And everyone's doing their stuff. It's just how it is, you know, it's just how it is. Yeah. I mean, who knows at the end of the day? I'm sure when it all comes down eventually in a few months' time and calms down and they get some scientists in there, they're going to find out that probably it's not such a big deal. But I also understand, like, the WHO had a pandemic in 2009 and nothing really happened, you know. But they've got more measures, they've done more work, you know, and they're trying it out, you know, they're trying it out. What if, because it's true, what if COVID-19 really was, I mean, it seems to be pretty virulent, like it can move quite quick. It can move quite quick, and its incubation time is quite slow, which makes it harder to kind of stop it in the body. What do they call that? I can't remember now, scientific term. But anyway, it doesn't seem thus far to be so dangerous. Maybe 0.1% fatalities, a bit like seasonal flu from what I can gather, you know. But hasn't been enough time to do research yet. But, you know, on the other hand, you could get a virus which was highly virulent and a real killer, you know, like 2% or something like that, and then that would be a massive, great drama. And of course, you know, it is part of the role of government to try and protect against that. And it takes a while with a new virus to kind of work out how it is and how dangerous it is. And it doesn't really help that the media drives everyone into a state of utter frenzied panic just to sell more newspapers. But that's also part of living in a capitalist economy, I guess. So my feeling is these fucking pandemics are going to be with us for a while, you know, because they crop up once every year. I think there's about 100 flu bugs out there and they're always mutating, you know. This is nothing new. It's just that now we're kind of going into a response to it. It's nothing new from anything that's happened every year, really, as I see it. But from the background reading I've done, but, you know, it's happening, you know, now we've got a response, and so Europe is trying out a response to see if we can contain or at least delay and, you know, try not to overwork the health service. But I'm happy, Adriana, that you're doing all right, man. Sei da Roma, yeah? Sei in Roma, yeah. I think it's not so bad. I don't know if it's so bad in Rome. I know they're really trying to get people off the streets, but I heard that in the south it's not so bad. Someone was telling me in Campania, Sicilia. In a sense, it's kind of curious. Having been in Italy a bit, and I spent a summer in Naples when I was much younger, in my 20s, you know, and the northern Italians always used to rip the shit out of the southern Italians, particularly in Naples, you know, and all this lavavi, wash yourselves, Napolitani, you know, because when Juventus used to go and play Napoli, you know, they'd all kind of slag them off for being unwashed and unclean and disease-ridden, and now, you know, I mean, not to make a joke out of it, because it is serious for the Italians, but of course this has come from the north, not the south, basically. So, yeah, but I can imagine there's a lot of panic. I have some good friends and kind of relatives and stuff out there, but you know, also at some point, you know, you have to keep yourself in a good space and do what you can for other people. There's a part also where I guess, you know, it's like, I don't know, life has been kind of soft and easy, it seems, for quite a long time. And, you know, I guess, you know, we don't have wars, so big wars, not ones that really affect like a country like the UK. It's like kind of a sedentary lifestyle, you know. It almost, in a sense, for my kind of character type, doesn't always suit me so much, being, I don't know, Anglo-Iranian and from a very traumatic background. I'm more used to crisis and drama, really. So a bit of crisis and drama I'm doing kind of good in a way, and Britain's not so, you know, it's quite a sedentary kind of quiet place. It's kind of a kind of quiet place. So, suddenly, since like World War Two and stuff, we haven't really had anything massive happen, the odd like terrorist thing and stuff like that. But this is probably the biggest thing, it looks like since World War Two really for Britain, and that's like nearly 80 years ago and stuff. So yeah, it's a big drama, and okay, everything gets thrown up in the air. But I guess if I'm really, really honest, I get a bit bored with total stability anyway. I get a bit bored with total stability, and having some kind of thing which shakes everything up is kind of exciting in a way, like the challenge of adaptation, of adapting to it. You know. Yeah, in the centre and the south, they say it's not so bad. I think the centre is in Lombardy. Yeah, yeah, you're totally right. North south since the Middle Ages, this has been the case. Yeah, yeah. So I guess if it does all kick off big time, I can see a lot of changing in society, possibly quite positive changes. Home working might take off big time. This centralised working culture. Yeah, I mean, just who knows? Who knows? I mean, there's so many theories and concepts out there. Another interesting thing on the horizon, I mean, I'm drifting off the subject of bioenergetics, is 6G. 6G is interesting shit. You should read about that, man. Because when 6G comes, which offers just zero latency and massive download speeds, it can no longer be run from a normal, these network masts that, EE and T-Mobile have. You have to have it in your fucking toaster in your phone, basically. So it's actually a huge, mandatory, forced decentralized network that's coming 2029, 2030 if we don't all collapse the viruses before. So that's kind of interesting because it's like the technology will be driving towards decentralization, and it's so new that corporations haven't even really started getting their heads around it yet. They're just starting to think about the kind of implications of 6G because the corporations are used to having a lot of top-down control, just being able to be at the top with their corporate structure and control everything. But as technology moves forwards, technology itself seems to be on a certain level. I mean, not to give it artificial intelligence itself, but kind of moving away from those kind of power structures into more, networked, decentralized, self-organizing networks and stuff like that. So that's kind of interesting as well. I mean, who the fuck knows, I'm a fucking baby boomer at the end of the day, born at the end of a baby boomer time, so I'm supposed to be rigid and only capable of dealing with kind of simple rigid power structures, but I do find it quite intriguing that there could be a lot of change. Decentralization is the way forward. Yeah, I just intrigued when I read about my dad, who's like in his 90s now. He still reads this magazine. You can't get it on the newsstands. E&T magazine, Engineering and Technology, from the Institute of Electrical Engineers. And I used to pick it up when I used to go and visit him, and it was like some really fascinating shit in there that you don't hear about in any other media magazine I've ever seen. Nothing in the mass media about half this stuff, all sorts of things about implications of AI and 6G, where's there an article on 6G in the Guardian or the Telegraph or something, or the Sun, nothing, Probably in about 8 years' time they'll start talking about it. But I was just like, whoa, this is really, it's fascinating shit. So I get him to send it to me when he's finished reading it now. And so I get to read it about a month behind. But it's a great fucking magazine, amazing, Yeah, it's all interesting shit that's going on. And I guess the difficult thing for me being a therapist is coming to terms with the lack of kind of human contact, the society just seems to move more and more towards screens, to looking at people on screens rather than being with people physically, and this virus is just going to do the same. That's the bit I struggle with. The decentralization is kind of interesting, and what I've understood about, decentralization and in human society is that you need a high level of awareness, for it to work. Like, I know about some experiments, because I lived communally a long time. I know about some experimental communities where they worked with by removing all the kind of hierarchies, basically. But they never worked because they attracted people who were phobic about hierarchies, who had, like a bad experience of a hierarchy growing up, and were still projecting that out on the world, hadn't really cleared their own stuff with hierarchies. And so those kind of communal structures never really worked very well. But if you've got people who've cleared their stuff out with hierarchies, the possibility for self-organizing structures is far greater. But hierarchy is a big one, you know. It's a big fucking one. Authority and hierarchy are like huge issues in the human psyche, and I know you have to go through a lot of shit to get somewhere, you know. I have to do so many fucking groups, you know, just to get more clear with, and there's still bits where I'm not, you know, but just to get more clear with authority and hierarchies and being in structure that's hierarchical. And what I see with a lot of people, they're just in a reaction to it. They're just in a reaction to it. Hey man, I work from home. It's funny on this phone. I work from home anyway, and honestly have found I'm far more engaged with my family and local friends. I'm involved with parts of my kids' lives that a lot of men don't get to see. Yeah, sounds nice, man. Sounds nice. I don't have any kids. I've got my girlfriend here, and sometimes a bit tricky really, because like I'm kind of trying to work, or other times she's trying to work, and we have to more try and set out times to connect and times to work a bit. It gets a bit of a mess sometimes between us, but sometimes I just go down to the library to work. But I'm working more at home now, but I also, you know, I like to run groups and to work with people face to face also, you know. So hopefully at some point that's viable again. But like today, there's not many questions about bioenergetics. I don't know if, you know, I mean, I don't know if, you know, it's kind of like everyone's busy with the crisis, and I understand that. I'm the same, you know. It's, you know, I'm still doing my daily workout because it just makes me feel good, basically, and I actually need it probably more when there's a lot of stuff being stirred up around, and you know it's affecting me, you know. So it's good to have my daily workout. So I'm still doing that, but I guess I don't expect to have so many clients on Skype for the time being because people are just busy with stuff. You know, I'm just looking a little bit what I can offer at the same time. I kind of contemplate doing a shorter course. The 52-week course is great, but it's quite deep and intense, and maybe something shorter is also appropriate. It's not quite so full on. So I think about that, and I'm also thinking about, you know, what for people who finished this training, because I noticed around week 20 or so, I start to naturally kind of teach people how to teach. Like, you know, you're doing a posture. Okay, say you were running a class. This is the stuff you need to look out for, you know. And if this guy's doing this is okay. And if this guy's doing this, you need to get in there and correct a bit. So I notice naturally, once you've got to about week 20 of the 52-week course, I start to give like more. I just naturally start to give a bit more information, and then I'll probably bring more of that in. I'll do a shorter course at the end, I think, for people who've completed and who do want to teach like bioenergetics on a certain level. I went to a really interesting lecture on hierarchy by Bruce Parry. I think I've heard of him. Was he doing Iboga and stuff? Did he run some series of programs? Maybe I'm completely confused. Strong argument, most of human history has been non-hierarchical. Hierarchy emerged from agriculture and food stockpiling. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the thing is, you know, it's like, are you okay with hierarchies? That's the question, you see. When I was doing a lot of therapy in university, I'm in an absolute strict, rigid hierarchy. And then, you see, you can have a trip about it, or you can just get in and it allows you to clear your stuff out with hierarchies. That's the thing that's great about it. And I see a lot of people who are just, you know, there's things which really, you can clear stuff out on the surface, but the deep stuff is authority, hierarchies, and sexual jealousy. Basically, that's the deep shit, you know. That is the stuff when you get in there that digs up all the shit. It's like at the core of the human psyche, those three issues kind of coalesce a bit, you know, and they're very deep, you know. And you know, when you're working at that level, you know, all the other stuff kind of comes out a bit. But it is deep, and there's not many places where you can work like that. I wondered how young Dev would have reacted if he saw older Dev. Yeah, who knows? I don't know. I think I'd be okay with myself in a way. I was super angry when I was in my 20s, you know, and late teens. I was just angry with everything. There was a song by the Ramones. I was a punk, and a song by the Ramones called "I'm Against It," which basically said, whatever you've got, I'm against it, you know. And that was pretty much my attitude to life and all that. And I acted that out for a long, long time. Yeah, Iboga, right? Yes, that's right. I think he did a series. I was quite into Iboga for a while, and I still run a website on it, but not really run it. It's just kind of, I just kind of maintain it really, and that kind of thing. And yeah, interesting guy. Yeah, I do remember him. But yeah, I mean, who knows? You know, there's always theories about hierarchy and stuff. I know Jordan Peterson, the Canadian professor guy, he says that we've had hierarchies at least since the crustaceans, you know, and it does seem that a lot of animals are pretty hierarchical. You know, they have pecking order, and the thing that's always interesting, they always fight. Once you've got the pecking order, everyone just chills with it. Everyone just chills with it, you know. And there's a learning in that for humans. You know, you have to go into it. You know, the animals don't sit around thinking about it or just complaining about it. I mean, they don't really have those options from their frontal lobes anyway. But they just get into it and fight. Basically, they fight and they kind of work it out. You know, and what I see, you know, a lot of people who want to make hierarchies wrong or attracted to belief systems where you don't have hierarchies, they've got issues with hierarchies, and that is what kind of fucks the non-hierarchical structures up. Because to me, you need a certain fluidity to be in a hierarchical structure and okay, and in a non-hierarchical structure and okay. And that is a deep fucking journey. There aren't many people who can do both. A lot of people I know have been through, because I was around therapy and heavy therapist training for a long time. I know a lot of people who are totally cool inside a hierarchy, you know, whatever role it is, you know. And of course, you still can be, as what's that guy's name? Seth Godin said, a linchpin within that. Wherever you are in the hierarchy, you can be a linchpin. You know, a very interesting book. But there's also a lot of people who are just trippy about hierarchies and can't easily function in a hierarchical structure. And, you know, not really looking at that, but more absorbing belief systems which say that hierarchies are wrong, you know. But to me, the challenge and what makes it most exciting is to say, hey, I can be totally in a fucking hierarchy and I can be in a decentralized system. So that's my kind of, what's where I look for myself to be, you know. Okay, guys, if you've got any questions about, we'll ask some more questions. Going to sign up to a journey soon. I saved some cash, but my bloody laptop melted down. Going to save heaps of cash for this isolation stuff. Yeah, man, it's true. You know, it's true. I don't think I'll be. I don't spend a lot anyway. And my fucking rent is the main expense, and my partner helps with that anyway. So I don't spend a ton of cash anyway. I'm a pretty cheap fucking date in a sense. You know, I don't go down, but I just like a local pub and hang out with people. Have a pint and a bag of crisps, you know. Sometimes go somewhere a bit posh and high up off the ground and observe things and spend a load of cash. But I don't have kids basically, and you know, if you don't have kids, I think you're limited in your expenditure a lot more, you know. So yeah, cool, man. If you sign up for the journey, it's going well, you know. I mean, it's kind of an experiment. I guess my mindfuck at the moment for people. People are rocking along with it. My mindfuck is that it could be, maybe I need to allow a bit more downtime sometimes, I think, rather than keep it too much pedal to the metal. So I'm kind of looking what works. It's kind of an experiment. But I think, you know, I don't know of anything else that you can do online that is so kind of deep and intense without just being a mindless ego head for myself. I genuinely don't know of anything that you can do that's working so deep in the muscle system for 52 fucking weeks, you know. And if you do it as a normal person would probably do it, you know, who isn't pedal to the metal, it's going to take 18 to 24 months to complete the course, you know. But then you will have a vast knowledge of how your own body functions psychologically and physically, you know, how it all maps together. Hey Steve, Mr. Dance Machine, good to hear from you, man. Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. Just slowly getting. I don't know if I'll still be doing good in a few weeks' time of this, not really lockdown, but I mean, how's it in the north? You, is it Gateshead, Newcastle, somewhere like that? Somewhere around there. Maybe Sunderland, I'm not sure. Not part of the country I know very well, but are they doing okay with the pubs being closed and stuff? You know, I've only had one day of it so far. I mean, I don't go down the pub that much. I don't want to portray myself as some kind of hardened alcoholic. But yeah, I'll be interested because I live in Brighton most of the time, and that's like super party town, you know. Thousands of students and young people out caning it all the time. And I enjoy just to go to the pub for a pint every now and again, but not going to be able to do that for a while by the look of it. Newcastle, yeah, that's it. No Mackems here. Not quite sure what that means, or if it's a kind of auto-correct thing, or if it's something I don't know. But yeah, it's like we're not locked down here in Brighton or anything. I mean, it's the same. I think it's the same all over the UK. Basically, we're not locked down, but we're kind of encouraged. You know, the pubs and the cafes are still, half of them are still open to do takeouts for now, but Yeah, it is what it is, hey. It is what it is. I'm doing a few more sharings these days, like for the journey people, I'm doing a sharing now once a week, so everyone can just have a chance to just talk about how they're doing, you know, people in New York, people in Austria, people in Europe, some, you know, guys are all over the world doing it on the course. And it is nice to come together and just share and be heard by people, even if you have to do it online. You know, I think it's a healthy thing. After the end of it, you know, you feel kind of cleansed and connected to people a bit more. You know, it makes it a bit more human. This whole kind of isolation thing. You know. How are you doing with it, man? There's quite a few here. Still a young generation down beach last night. Coping, not bad up here. I'm a Newcastle fan. Will the 52-week program help clear holding patterns for each character type? Yes, they will. It's interesting, this character type thing, because, you know, when I first came across character structure, I did a course on it about 15 years ago in the therapist training I was on. And of course, you know, straight away in my mind, okay, which one am I? Which one am I? When you have to find, you know, your dominant one and then the kind of secondary one. But coming back to it 15 years later and reading books and listening to people about it and stuff, you know, people who aren't just reading it off Lowen and Reich. Sorry. You know, it's clear that, you know, I've got at least 4 out of the 5 quite dominantly strong. And one way you can look at it is to say, okay, which one is the one you go to in crisis, you know? But the reality is, what I see is that the approach for most of them is actually quite similar, you know, which probably isn't a good sales pitch, because it would be a better sales pitch, I imagine, to say, yes, we will cover that. We do cover characterology, starting around week 26, and working through the character types, because what is really useful with it also is the cognitive aspect, to actually understand how and why each character structure forms based on very early childhood experience. In fact, for some of them, womb experience. And then, you know, it's like, oh wow, I'm doing that. Oh, I'm doing that. Oh my God, I'm still doing that. You get the cognitive kind of flashes of intuition, and you also start to work, you know, on ground. The core practice, the core kind of overall method I have is basically getting people more grounded, getting the lower part of the body active, you know, which for pretty much any of the character types, it's the case that they're arguably not the endurer totally, but still, yes, really. Pretty much any of them, they need this, basically. They need this. So sometimes the impression given from bioenergetic analysis is that there's a distinct approach for each character type, but for me, there's 2 basic flaws with that reasoning, which which may be also due to the fact that a lot of bioenergetic analysis was created around the 70s, and that was a long time ago now. But the 2 basic flaws are, one, most people have got multiple types. It's not just 1 or 2, it's multiple. It's layered in there. And the second thing is, I find the approaches anyway similar. You know, we're going to be working to get the charge out of the system. We're going to be working to ground someone, get the belly open energetically, feeling in the belly, and energy flowing down the body, out the soles of the feet. So we're going to be working to do that, so that the top half of the body doesn't have to just keep managing everything and controlling, you know. And that's a basic way to address any of the character types. And then you've got the cognitive aspect of really going into each aspect of this particular character, you know, really understanding it. In classes, I generally get people to act them out in a group, which is also good fun, to all act out as an oral, you know, neck craning forward, desperate, you know, not really doing anything, but just trying to behave as though you just need someone to suck onto or cling. Sometimes I think about even giving people some kind of sucker to actually fix on things, you know, because it's very comforting for orals, you know, and then everyone's acting out the endurer, you know, struggling through life and as though it's a burden, and though, you know, you're kind of on autopilot belief systems around hierarchy and authority, and the dreamers and the so-called psychopath. I call, influencer or inspire, I call them fascinating, interesting people. And the rigids, there's about 4 different rigid subtypes I go through. So it's really fascinating on a cognitive level, and then there is a certain degree of specific stuff. If you've got one really strong, or what's more likely, if you've got one more prominent in your personality at the moment, you know, one that you're really acting out in your, you know, love relationship or around friends or you know, at work in particular. You know, if there's one you're really acting out, then there's like, you know, the cognitive element that you can become aware of, which you can start to adjust your behavior, and the kind of areas of your body that you might need to focus on in particular. Certainly for certain rigid subtypes, that can be very, very useful. Of course, what I find fascinating also about character structure is that only certain character structures come to therapy anyway. You don't get many rigids in there, the classic rigid types, you know. It's just not what they do. I was in the classic rigid type, but I had very strong oral tendencies as well, you know, as well as schizoid. So even though my basic, probably over the number one layer 20 years ago was rigid, you know, totally rigid, you know, it was only the other aspects that drove me to go and do therapy, because I hit such a crisis in my own personal life. Generally, you're not going to get many phallic narcissists, or what they call rather unreasonably hysteric females, you know. I mean, you're just not really going to get them in groups unless they've really hit the crisis wall. It's kind of fascinating stuff, characterology as well. But we will certainly work with the holding patterns and also the dead zones, you know, because it is not that all of them develop armouring. You know, armouring is of course characteristic to the rigids, particularly the two dominant rigids, which are the phallic narcissistic male and the so-called hysterical female. You know, James Bond would totally characterise the kind of phallic narcissist. Perhaps Victoria Beckham would totally characterise the so-called hysteric. You know, and they of course have, you know, you can see the rigidity there in certain areas of their body. But usually in the hysteric female, there's a lot of still fluidity in the hips and sexuality, you know. But we will work on all of that, and I try and take a new perspective on it, not just kind of read off the script, which anyway is so outdated now, you can't really do that, you know. Online, you know, there's quite a few people who just read the old Lowenreich scripts out, but you have to adapt it to 2020. So I'm doing that. There's also an interesting guy someone pointed me towards recently, Stephen Kessler, who's written a good book apparently in the States, and I may well order his book and check a little bit what he says, but I've got a fucking great backlog of books I'm supposed to be reading at the moment, so I don't know. But, you know, we will get into character structure, and I still think character structure is useful. I still think it is useful because, particularly from a cognitive level, you really can get some real aha moments. You know, just creating the material for the YouTube, which I'm still doing. I've got 2 more to do. I might do one tomorrow. Get the Dreamer done, and then the Psychopath or the Inspirer, better name. But, you know, creating that material also really allowed me to see at times, certainly the Endurer, really that was like, whoa, this is like, I'm still doing this and this, and I'd never seen myself in this category before. And I really saw like, fuck, I've still got this. I mean, you know, maybe I've cleared some of this stuff and this stuff over here, but I've still got this strong Endurer tendencies, you know. So I find the cognitive level fascinating, and certainly the last time I taught it was in a 3-day workshop at the end of February in Osho Leela, and I know a lot of the people are still busy with the character structure and busy seeing themselves and the times in their day and their relationships or whatever when they're behaving like one of the types. So I think it does give a lot of useful cognitive feedback. Good to hear Brighton is doing well. Yeah, I think it's still people on the street and doing their thing, you know. Of course, the pubs being closed and the cafes being closed, it's a super cafe and pub society, Brighton. Will hit people hard, but I mean, that is how it is. Dum, dum, dum. Going live on Facebook at 7 p.m. Nice to hear you giving some feedback here. Hey, cool, man. You're going to go live on Facebook. Hey, cool. Maybe I'll try and tune in. Good to hear music. Hey, Dermot. Hey, man. Greetings from Ireland. Yeah, no, I know you couldn't come, man, but I totally, you know, I understand, you know. Several guys who were flying in from Europe had to cancel. One guy was starting a new job on Monday morning, like in Brussels, you know, and it's like, you know, shit, I mean, Christ, what if Gatwick, I mean, not much happens in England on the weekend because the government are all half asleep, but, you know, what if Gatwick Airport, what if more likely, what if Belgium suddenly said, hey, we're not taking anyone from Britain back in, you know, his whole job would have been fucked up, you know, so I totally understand. I think Ireland a little bit the same, so they're following more of a European line, but yeah, it was a great workshop. I haven't planned another one yet. I'll probably go again in Brighton sometime. I've got to wait and see what goes on. I've got 2 more London workshops which are planned, and you know, I just have to wait and see if it's realistic to do them or not. And one in April and one in mid-April and one in towards the end of May. So I just have to see if they happen. Or I also feel a bit sad for the centre where I do them, the Capoeira school, because I think they're getting hammered by low bookings and fuck, there's few enough places as it is where you can run these workshops. So I really hope they don't go bust. But we will see. Yeah, cool to hear from you. Anyway, Dermot, I hope you're doing good, man. I hope you're doing good. You should. I still think you've got to get some workshops, start running some stuff yourself over there in Ireland. Hey, they are up for it. The Irish, they're up for it from the journeys I had there last year. Just doing some meditation qigong for some folks this evening, as most are indoors. Nice, man. That is really nice. Yeah, I'm trying to do. I'm planning to start Monday with a 5 p.m. thing, maybe with some Italian translation for my girlfriend as well, but for the Italians and stuff. But just to do like a 20-minute session around 5 p.m. for 21 days. When the light drops below a certain level, this thing starts flashing a bit anyway. Hey, Raphael. Been sick to close week, probably got infected by my flatmate. It's very weird, fluish kind of feeling. Never had that before. Well, man, I hope you're okay, man. I've been reading a bit more about, because the British government has now been publishing more of its scientific advisors' research and stuff, which is kind of, for me, a bit reassuring that it's not just a mad panic or conspiracy, But I don't know if you're at your age group, have you got anything too much to worry about, man? I don't know. I wouldn't have thought so. But I hope you're doing okay over in Brussels. I guess you didn't get to start your new job, but anyway, I hope you're doing all right, man. Any quick anxiety busters for panic attacks? Notice for lower back tensing up. I mean, the bottom line for anxiety, because anxiety is basically the belief in the mind that you're not okay, and that you need to change your state now, and if I mean, it is panicky. Of course, it's panicky. You're around panicky people, probably, I mean, I'm around panicky people quite a lot about this corona thing, and the bottom line is to look what you need to kind of reassure yourself, and also breathe and feel your body. Breathe and feel your body, because the body is present in the moment, and the more awareness you have in your body, which is a journey to get awareness in your body, but the more awareness you have in your body, the less, the more you've got like a safe place there just to go, a safe place to go. And if there is nothing, right in your vicinity, which is causing you to panic, like, a car bearing down on you in the middle of the street, or someone about to attack you or something like that, then just being able to feel your body, is very reassuring. But the trouble is that we've kind of evacuated the body so much. But the bottom line is coming back into the body, and just feeling the body. I find it quite easy just to be present, and just be like that. And even though my mind is kind of the antithesis in the sense that it always wants to do something, and historically I'd struggle to listen to people. I just want to put my energy out, it's like that, developing that side of me where I can just be really present with myself or with others has changed my life massively. And it's not really like a kind of, it's not like some kind of miracle, it's basically just being able to feel your body more, and so that when I tune in and feel my legs and my belly, it's like you can feel energy almost flowing down, and it's like there's a kind of calmness to that, that's available. So, do the bio and get this, get more awareness in the body. What I'm trying to do now is spend time, often when I'm lying down before I sleep, or if I wake up in the night, to just feel into my body, find a place of tension, and just try and stay there, feeling it, not doing anything to it from my mind, but just feeling in it. And it kind of, the feeling changes and emerges and goes here and there, and usually I fall asleep before long, but I mean, like, it's quite a fascinating process, it's almost like a journey, like you're going into the earth or something like that, through the sensation of the body, fascinating shit. We get a pint when the pub's open. Yeah. Yeah. That'll be probably about September or something at this rate, but we'll see. Breathe and feel. We'll be doing this evening. That's it, that's the end of the day. I get so many clients who, they really, it's often guys, but women too, it's like, I want something to do about this feeling, or, I need a practice to just get rid of it, and this kind of quasi-military approach to our psychology doesn't really work. I mean, to a degree, there is stuff you can do, but you have to be open to feel what's going on. If you're not open to feel what's going on, then you know what to do. You know, you can't really go anywhere. You're left endlessly using your mind and little routines to not be present with yourself. And finally, it's kind of hard to have a satisfying life like that. You know, it's hard to having there's a yeah, it's not a new job. Anyway, let's catch up with the chat. I'll do a little bit more. Fun thing is, a lot of negative and depressed feelings came up, and I turned it into some kind of release. Hey, that's great, man. That's great. You know, that's great. Because this is it. Life is always triggering us. It's triggering the fuck out of us, and like, just to really be present with that sometimes is all we really need. You know. But the belief you know, is that we must do something about it. And like I say, I often get clients who they always want to do something about what they're feeling, and they probably come to me because I've been quite like that in the past, I think. But the reality is, you know, like I always going to, once I started to do therapy and lived communally, you know, in a therapist place, you know, always go to emotional release, get in the group room and scream for a bit, you know. And of course it works, but it doesn't really address the underlying stuff. And at some point you will just have to feel what's going on, be present and be honest, you know. That's really all you can do. So, you know, that at the end of the day is what I learned. And then the bioenergetics just opens the body up more. It's basic mindfulness is what you need, but then the bio opens the body up more, so that all those kind of key areas, the muscle groups where there is holding, you know, then you can breathe and feel that, you know, and it's like a journey. So when I contrast it to like what some of the therapists are doing with polyvagal theory or somatic experiencing or emotional expression, you know, I'm a bit in the middle. You know, I don't do the kind of Peter Levine thing with interrogating the body on a cognitive level. Nothing wrong with that, and using the stories that we come up with from what we're feeling to access and clear. It's more like I'm opening the muscle system up. I'm working underneath the mind. It's like, for me, I guess at some point I realised that my mind was helping so little. I saw it was possible to work completely underneath the mind and just let it do its own little thing, but clear out on a deep unconscious level stuff from body work. And I started to do that, and it started to work for me. So I thought, wow, I'm going to do that, you know. And that's what I teach. And I don't also kind of, you know, I don't recommend. It's great to do screaming and shouting stuff, but it also does not really discharge from the deep areas of the psyche, in my experience. You know, I got hooked into doing that for a decade, and for a few years it was absolutely great. But at some point it was not really working anymore, and so I came to look more at the bioenergetics and how to really start to discharge from the muscles and be present, and that was good. But it's not that there's a wrong or right anywhere. You do get these annoying motherfuckers who are convinced that this therapy is right and this one is wrong, and usually the ones working from the more soft mind-based areas. And I've got nothing wrong, no problem with people working like that. There's lots of clients for whom that works for perfectly. But I fail to see why certain individuals from this background feel that when anyone's a bit more kick-ass, that they need to be kind of, you know, told that they're wrong in some way by this conditioned mind of the other therapists, you know. And maybe it sounds like nothing, but this was going on a lot in psychotherapy, and it's a bit of a fucking drag. So, you know, I do my thing, and sometimes I've got clients and I think, hey man, you know, it'd be better for you to go over here and do this, or, you know, or yeah man, you know, come and work with me because I can do this, you know. It's like trying to just help people and be open and not be convinced that your way is the only way. Being open to learn is a big part of it for me, and also to recognise when something is valid but it's not my thing, you know. It's not my thing, it's not what I personally want to teach. And I've got my little area that I mark out and work like that. Anyway, let's just check the chat. But yeah, if anyone's got any last questions, let's go for a last question. We're coming up towards an hour now, so that's my usual kind of limit with the live streams. And if anyone's got a question they want to ask, do go for it. It's nice to hear from so many guys I know, so thanks for tuning in. So yeah, I agree, there's no right or wrong. That's it, man, you know. It's like, I don't know, I just feel it's such a drag. Sometimes I be in these teacher sharings, you know, and one teacher's just on this fucking great lecture about how their way, or they won't say that actually, but their way is the right way, you know, but there'll be these subtle criticisms of me or some other therapist who's working in a more kind of kick-ass way, you know, possibly someone who's not in that sharing, but it's just like such a fucking drag, and it's always these, you know, mindy people that do this, you know, and there's nothing wrong with being mindy, and sometimes it's what other mindy people need, you know, but like, there's also other ways of working. There are more direct ways of working, you know, and they are also okay. And it would be great to see more widespread acceptance of that. Anyway, if anyone does have a last comment or question, then do feel free to put it out, because, you know, we're all in this shit together for a certain number of years, and it's good when we can make the best of it and just really have a great time, you know, have a great time. Thanks for your anxiety advice. Anything on eating and drinking habits? Always beating myself up for my choices, addictions, but sometimes I think the truth is a lot simpler and bio can help. Yeah, I mean, fuck man, you know, I go down the pub and have a few beers, you know, I regularly eat food which most people from an alternative background would consider to be not very healthy. You know, I eat meat in the morning, certainly, high protein. I eat quite a lot of nuts. I eat quite a lot of food that comes out of cheap shops, you know. I think if you've got a regular practice of bioenergetics, you're working underneath the mind to clear stuff out on a very deep level. And it's all right if you have a few addictions and bits and bobs here, because some point they get addressed. What you don't want to be doing, really, and one of the things in addiction, of course, that you're always fighting is what they used to call, I think they still call it, the guilt cycle. You know, basically, you do the bad thing, and then you get to beat yourself up for it for a while. You feel shit about yourself, so you go and do the bad thing again. And this is the classic guilt cycle that most addictions have. And frankly, you know, you do not need to be fucking perfect. You do not need to be perfect. You know, it is not the ambition of bioenergetics or any good therapy, in my opinion, to make you perfect. In fact, it's for people who feel they have to be perfect, which is usually from certain character structure, rigid types, you know, it is much better not to be perfect, you know, and often they have to learn how not to be perfect, basically, and how to fuck up and be okay with that, you know. The world is not going to open up and swallow you whole if you fuck something up, and the world is not unlikely to swallow you whole if you go out and booze a bit or smoke some weed or something, unless you actually have genuine substance issues and you just can't touch those substances. And coming a bit from around that area, I do certainly know people who cannot touch one drop of alcohol or they're fucked. You know, it's just got a hold of them, and that's them until they're mashed. But basically, you know, it's like you've got to. What happens in the mind of some people is that their so-called superego in Freudian terms, which is like your own internalized voice of authority, is out of control. Usually from one of the parents, you know, really laid their shit on them, you know, and they've developed this very strong internalized voice of authority that's always beating them up for basically just being human. And this is not useful. Yes, we can let go of some substances sometimes, but you've got to do it gradually. I regularly have people coming towards me via YouTube or clients or whatever who want to change everything really quickly and be super strong with themselves, you know, but they have no chance, because all they're doing is acting from this superego position. You know, I'm going to get control of all these things. And about a few weeks down the line, of course, they're swamped by stuff, they're back in all their so-called negativity, and they're beating themselves up for it. And they just go round in a circle like this. Go round in a circle. Endurers often will do this, you know. And the way out, you cannot just allow yourself to be constantly controlled by this super ego. You have to start to appreciate yourself as a human being and saying you're not perfect and that is okay. You know, it's the only real way forward from the beating up. And the bioenergetics, particularly the way I'm teaching it, is to work underneath all of this stuff, so that slowly you take some of the forces which create this psychological pressure out, and you realise that you're okay. You're okay. Okay, let's look at the last question. We're coming up to an hour. I spoke to a girl in Superdrug today. She smiled and said, "Wow, that was awesome to see in this climate we're experiencing. Wouldn't be able in the past to talk to women socially." Hey man, that's cool. Cool man, cool. Maybe I can eat and drink certain things, kind of conflicted a lot about this and with the healing journey. You know, what I say to people who are doing the bioenergetics, you know, often I'll open the bar sometimes if I'm doing a residential group at the end of a thing, or if we're doing Project Man, we go down a local restaurant and some guys will have a beer and some meat, you know. If you're doing the work on a deep level, you don't need to necessarily restrict your diet, certainly, and totally. Well, you know, different people have different approaches, but I don't really care about people's diets, you know, it's not. And then there's other teachers who are gonna work like that. You've got to ask yourself a hard question. Do I really have issues with my eating and drinking? Are they really out of control? Have I ever been diagnosed with a substance abuse issue? Have I been diagnosed with an eating disorder? You know, in which case, yes, you do need to take things seriously and you do need to look properly with a nutritionist or, you know, addiction counsellor or whatever. You know, but if you haven't come from those categories, you've got to check out, have I got a overly strong sense of internalized authority, you know, superego if you're into Freudian psychology, that's just finding an excuse to beat me up all the fucking time? And if the answer to that is maybe or yes, then that's the thing you actually need to change, not your bloody diet. Your diet will change as you do more therapy and bio, particularly working with the body, it will change. You will feel what your body wants to eat, and it probably won't be necessarily what all, you know, what all the nutritionists say. It'll be what your body wants to eat, and you will be okay with it. And if you smoke a bit of weed, or even take certain substances or whatever every now and again, it is not the end of the world, and you fucking know it, basically, you know. Having said that, I reiterate, I'm off any kind of proper drugs these days. I haven't even had a joint for about, fuck knows how long, how many years now. Haven't had any E for a long time. I was never much into coke either, or other people in my family were into heavy drugs, so, or closer acquaintances from my background, so I always stay clear of that stuff. Don't know why I need to put that out, but I thought I would. Yeah, maybe I can. Yeah, be careful with it, man. You know, a lot of people who get into the diet stuff have got this overly driven super ego. Read about the endurer. Look at my videos for the endurer, formerly known as the masochist. It's okay to say how you feel. Thanks, man. Hey, Raphael. Yeah, guys, you take it easy too. Definitely have the superego thing. Appreciate, yeah, man. Check that out first. That's not a license to go out and get as wasted as you can. You can't go to the pub now anyway if you're in the UK. But you know, at the same time, check that out, so that you can start to find some strategies to work with that superego to diffuse it a bit and to not just function from that. You don't want to go through life being controlled by this part of your mind. You just don't want to do that. Okay, guys, love you lots. Let's keep doing it. Let's keep being real, and you know, let's just get our lives better. Even in these circumstances, it can be done. Speak to you guys soon.